So it's Monday, February 6th, the day after an unofficial American holiday for a lot of people, the Super Bowl. Unless you live under a rock or don't care about any sports whatsoever or have access to no media whatsoever, you are probably aware of who won the game. Now, I wasn't going to do a vlog of a review of the game or my thoughts on the game because at one point in the game it was 21-3 Atlanta, and I really didn't feel like there was a need to say anything about what was looking like it was going to be a potential blowout. But then, of course, what happened, and the Patriots ended up coming back and winning in overtime. So I feel as though I need to convey my thoughts or the reactions of those who were around me, which I thought were pretty humorous. I'm not going to talk too much about the game because everybody pretty much knows what happens. The Patriots were at a deficit at which, if they would have come back and won, it would have been the largest comeback in Super Bowl history. 19 points or 18 points, whatever it was. The previous had been a 10-point comeback. So at that point, it looked like something miraculous was just a little bit out of reach for the Patriots. Then late in the third quarter, fourth quarter, and overtime, Tom Brady became himself and completely asserted his dominance over the Falcons secondary, tearing them apart slowly so that they would be able to reach this comeback and then ultimately win themselves a Super Bowl in the first possession of overtime. The biggest play for me is not the fumble recovery by the Patriots, what ended up setting up their first points on their way back to this comeback. It was the 10-yard penalty after a sack when the Falcons were in field goal territory. That field goal, had they kicked it or made the pass after the 10-yard penalty to set them back up into field goal position, would have given them the extra 3-point boost, which would have made that game completely out of reach for the Patriots in their ultimate comeback. Looking back, you could say that they should have ran the ball a couple times just to, eat the clock a little, set themselves up for a better field goal position, and then ultimately kick those 3 points. But it's easy to look back now and say that. I mean, the Falcons have a stellar offense, and throwing the ball really isn't a bad idea when you're in rhythm, which Matt Ryan was at that time. But anywho, the game, it is what it is. Patriots won. If you were like me and obviously not living in New England, you were probably surrounded by people who were against the Patriots and were completely freaking out the TV the whole time. So the ending was not exactly too fun for anyone that I was around, to be honest. However, what was not also fun was probably the halftime show for most people. Someone I was with, I'm going to quote them, they said that the dancing and the choreography looked like something that they would come up with when they were drunk. And that was probably true. I mean, that was the weirdest thing I've probably ever seen. Lady Gaga's performance was interesting. However, I really didn't get it. I thought her singing was pretty good for being live compared to other performances, but the choreography was so out there and a little bit peculiar and kind of odd that I really didn't enjoy that as much. I mean, at one point she was literally being carried by this guy that was just banging his head all over the place while she was being carried across stage with like one leg hanging down and one leg in the guy's arm, and I don't even know. It was just the weirdest thing ever. And honestly, we have to ask ourselves, who did the entry with the strings better? SpongeBob SquarePants or Lady Gaga? I'm not really sure. Personally, I'm leaning towards SpongeBob SquarePants because that episode scene is probably one of my favorites of the entire show. It makes me laugh probably every single time. Of course, Twitter reacted with that. That's my next topic, the Twitter reactions. Quotes after the game from a lot of people sitting around me. The first person someone said was, "Not my Super Bowl champions." They probably said it about 5 seconds after the game ended. And then ended up being, I heard the #1 trending hashtag on Twitter was hashtag not my Super Bowl champion, which I think is just hilarious. Another one I heard was that the Falcons won the majority vote, but then the Patriots won anyways, which is kind of funny, obviously referencing back to the election this year. Friend Joe said, right after the Super Bowl ended, they had a really emotional Hyundai commercial. They showed the service members watching the game through the camera next to their family members. It was really emotional, really nice. It was a really nice, really emotional commercial, and then right after it ended, he just leaned forward and goes, "If it ain't Chevy, it ain't shit." And that's just like, I don't know, it's just one of those things he says, but it was just funny because it was after this really, heart-wrenching Hyundai commercial. That person also was really funny during the end of the game because he's a yeller. And although he's not a Patriots or a Falcons fan, he was just freaking out at the TV, just telling the Falcons, they need to figure it out, or he just really didn't want the Patriots to win, basically, just like most of the people in the room, but, it is what it is. Also on Twitter, which I thought was really funny, was a picture of George Bush And the guy that was pushing him in the wheelchair, who I guess is in the Navy, a lot of photos with the quote that was Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy in basically real life, another SpongeBob reference. I thought it was really funny. I think the best ones of all are how people continue to go back and reference the Golden Warriors blowing the 3-1 series lead against the Cavaliers in the spring. People were finding all sorts of loopholes just to bring that up. I mean, they were saying, oh, the Patriots won on a 31-point lead, 3-1. Golden Warriors blew a 3-1 game lead against the Cavs, or I don't know. There was a few of them that I thought were really funny, and I just think it's hilarious that people, no matter what sport it is or what scenario, they just somehow find the numbers 3 and 1 in there, and they just completely relate it back to the Warriors blowing the lead against the Cavs. To me personally, I don't really care that the Patriots won again. It's really cool to see records broken with Tom Brady winning his fifth MVP and the most Super Bowls won by a quarterback ever. That's pretty cool. And him playing in the most Super Bowls ever as a quarterback. I think that was one as well. Although I'm okay with the Patriots winning, it would have been really nice to see the Falcons win. I mean, they haven't won one before. That's only their second trip to the Super Bowl in their history. And I think Matt Ryan's a pretty good guy. And Julio Jones, he is a workhorse and carried that team for years. And it's really nice to see that now they have a young core of players around him to support him. And it looked like this could have been their year. But now they have that talented defense along with their really talented and firepower-focused offense. And I think in the year's future, they're also a team that you could look for going forward if they can keep their defense under control and just keep putting the ball in the end zone like they had been this year. I mean, they're number one scoring team this year, points-wise. So definitely a team to look out for going forward, I think, especially with Matt Ryan, if he can stay healthy, and Julio Jones and Devontae Freeman and all those guys, if they can all stay healthy, I mean, they're going to be a good team anyway. So yes, if you're a Falcons fan, you're probably pissed off, sad, or whatever about they lost, but you got to look at the positives. It's a young team with a lot of weapons that if they stay healthy, they're just going to be really good going forward. I will say this, though. 2 years in a row, the MVP is a quarterback that's playing in the Super Bowl, and 2 years in a row, they lost. So that's unfortunate. I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's like bad luck, kind of, but who knows what it is. So yeah, that's my take on the Super Bowl. Hope your experience was as good as mine. Hope you had as much good food as I did. We had a ton of crap to eat. Getting yelled at to go eat dinner now, so I have to leave. Otherwise, they're going to break down my door and keep screaming. So until next time, peace.